Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Military Mayday. We're pointing out a few pieces on the chessboard. Got a couple articles we're going to read you through here today. One of them is Ukraine loses 300 troops, tanks, and howitzers in one battle to Russia. The next one's going to be Chinese testing bursting the US Abrams tank by kinetic bullet. Both are pretty interesting articles and ones to pay attention to, in my opinion. Before we get into them, though, I want you to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Other people might want to hear this information. It might be of interest to someone you know. Let's get started. Ukrainian forces lost hundreds of troops and dozens of pieces of military equipment during fighting in the Donetsk Oblast, Russian Defense Ministry said. In a statement on Tuesday, the Defense Minister ammunition depots of the 27th Rocket Brigade and the 47th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces had been wiped out near the settlements of Lysovodka and whatever. Russian units, tactical aircraft crews, and artillery forces repelled an enemy attack near Sumword, also known as Kromov, on the outskirts of Bakhmut, which has been fiercely fought over for months. Units of Ukraine's 42nd Mechanized Brigade, its 46th Air Mobile Brigade, its 80th Air Assault Brigade, and 112th Territorial Defense Brigade were also hit in what Moscow calls the Donetsk People's Republic of Defense Ministry. The total enemy losses amounted to 300 troops killed and wounded. The statement said, adding that Ukraine also lost 3 tanks, 1 infantry fighting vehicle, 3 pickup trucks, and 19 motor vehicles. Russian troops also struck field guns, armed personnel carriers, U.S. supplied M109s, Paladin, and 119 towed howitzers. The Russians' claims have not been independently verified. Newsweek reached out to Ukrainian Defense Minister for comment. They come as Ukrainian President Zelensky said that Russia had suffered huge losses and urged the West to continue its support for Kyiv, especially given that Russia has stepped up its strikes against civilian targets over the New Year period. Zelensky told economists that it besieged the eastern town of Advidivka in Donetsk Oblast, where Moscow launched an offensive in October. There are thousands of killed Russian soldiers. Ukraine's latest estimate of Russian troop losses since the start of the war is 360,000 on Tuesday. That's an awfully high number. Ukraine's Air Force reported on Tuesday that overnight it had shot down 59 cruise missiles, 3 Caliber cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. Russian forces had launched nearly 100 missiles, preceding by a wave of Shahid kamikaze drones in a similar mass attack that it carried out on December 29th, the Air Force noted. The Russian bombardment killed at least 4 people, injured dozens, and left more than 250,000 citizens without electricity. The attacks came a day after Putin said Moscow would intensify strikes in response to the shelling of Russian border city of Belgorod, which Moscow blames on Kyiv, and left 24 dead and over 100 injured. Believe it or not, I believe it. I really do. China tests bursting the US Abrams tank by kinetic weapon. Research conducted by Chinese scientists on the efficacy of kinetic weapons, energy weapons against US military tanks has revealed stunning results. In the test, a tank could potentially be incapacitated by a single strike from a KEW with no apparent external damage. Reports from Chinese media sources cited a solid sphere weighing 20 kilograms and traveling at quadruple the speed of sound could indeed pose a formidable risk to highly advanced tanks matching the standards of the U.S. military. Such a projectile would carry roughly 25 megajoules of kinetic energy, and seemingly sufficient figure. In terms of electricity, it would only translate to slightly above 7 kilowatt-hours. Despite the appearing minimal, this amount of energy has the potential to cause catastrophic damage to the tank's internal systems while leaving its outer shell untouched, claims the report. While the U.S. tank was not named outright by the Chinese researchers, they did hint that the energy in question was more than enough to wreak havoc on the U.S. operated tank weighing between 40 and 60 tons, the Abrams tank, for an example. So they've been practicing on this Abrams tank with their kinetic weapons, and looks like they're having some good stuff happen as far as on their side. During their research, the team deduced that the impact of such a projectile could fracture critical parts of the tank, such as the bolts and affix crucial equipment to the interior cabin wall, therefore rendering the tank useless. The findings, which were published in the peer-reviewed journal Equipment Environmental Engineering on December 8th, significantly highlighted the susceptibility of the conventional military equipment to progressive weapons technology. Yeah, I'm sure it can do some damage to the tank, but the people inside there, I mean, you're going to be shell shocked. You're going to hear nothing. If you survive it, it's going to be rough. MIL STD 810 or Military Standard 810 encompasses a set of testing procedures and guidelines issued by the U.S. State Department to assert the robustness and endurance of equipment. The chief aim of the code is to ensure that military hardware remains functional under all conceivable circumstances it might encounter during its deployment. Given the recent advancements in hypersonic weaponry, defense systems often fall short in terms of the response time to counter such swift attacks. Like conventional anti-tank weapons, they rely on gunpowder. High-speed kinetic projectiles can potentially cause fatal damage even upon slight contact. Furthermore, these projectiles can be launched in a myriad of ways, therefore increasing their applicability in different scenarios. These Chinese researchers also found the assessment of damage from a kinetic projectile greatly differs from the conventional armor-piercing rounds. Traditional rounds can be elevated using alloy armor piercing. However, when it comes to kinetic project impact, their entire tank must be considered due to the complex shock wave generated by the point of impact. This shock wave could cause stress concentration points at places like bolts, leading to the deformation or fracturing of. Transforming the nature of warfare, kinetic energy projectiles thrive on high terminal velocity, infusing their targets with an amount of energy that far exceed the inherent energy force of their chemical explosives. You know, they did ban hollow point ammunition in warfare, and this might be another something to ban, really. Tank operators tend to position the front of their vehicle towards possible threats, utilizing its robust build for protection. However, the impact of a kinetic energy projectile in this area can deliver destructive forces that penetrate the tank's interior and potentially compromise its fire-powering abilities. Consequences of such an impact, as identified by researchers, could be quite alarming. The tank's gun stabilizer console might lose its hold. The wiring base of the console could be entirely dislodged, and connections between the turret and the firing control computer could get cut off. So these are probably all things that they've noticed has happened when they were testing their kinetic weapons, and they're just up there, bragging about it. It's worth noting that the U.S. Army has been actively involved in these endeavors, channeling considerable resources over many years in the development of hypersonic kinetic kill anti-tank missiles. Lockheed Martin, a leading company based in the United States, has been dynamically engaging in the creation of the compact energy weapon. Their primary focus was to equip selected models of the future combat system family and already established platform. These include the tracked Bradley fighting vehicle and the Stryker, a wheeled armor vehicle. Here's all the successes of it. So, let's see here. Well, I ain't got too much more to go. In the operational domain, the whatever it claimed its potential deadliness in the line of sight conflict situations. 2007 was a significant year for the company when it demonstrated the CCAM's capabilities by testing it successfully against a stationary T-72 tank. Though a successful trial against a T-set fitted with explosive reactor armor, CCAM demonstrated its power. With the emphasis of kinetic energy, it proved it could effectively neutralize a target even when confronted with sophisticated defensive systems. However, the evolution of the CCAM initiative changed when the Pentagon decided to cease Army's Future Combat Systems program in '09. The Pentagon's decision not only signified the culmination of the FCS initiative, but it also put a sudden stop to the progression of last known high-speed anti-tank missile projectile weapons. Consequently, over the past decade, a noticeable lessening of the public discourse on this subject has been sparked inquiries about the present state of such plans. In summary, the idea of the hypersonic anti-tank missile boasting speeds beyond Mach 5 and a kinetic penetrator has the potential for dramatically revolutionizing anti-tank capabilities. It's a very deadly tool, make no mistake. It's probably something they'll wish they de-invented at some point. I don't know. Oh, I want to say Happy New Year. Yesterday there was a lot of stuff going on. I had a lot of stuff going on too, so I couldn't make a video. But anyway, like and subscribe. Toodaloo.